So I think I'm just gonna do speakdoms all week because there's like no movie news I really care about, and I don't have a PS5 yet. So maybe I'll just drop speakdoms all week to make up for the ones I have not put out in the past, like month and a half or so. So the last one I did was called "Pain Causes Growth," about how pain and losing at something can influence you to become a better person. Financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, everything. Mentally. And this is going to be kind of a companion piece to that. And this is going to be about how you need to fail. You must fail. Failure breeds success. So, one thing that I talk about a lot on here is the fact that, and this is the sad truth, a lot of you guys, not all of you, but a lot of you guys are young and you haven't experienced the true pain that life will give you. Not yet. Some of you guys are young and you have experienced it. Some of you guys are older and you've experienced it. The bottom line is, you can't go through life without feeling some sort of pain or failing at something. You just can't. Nobody, including people like Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, all these guys have L's on their record. You cannot go through life. I know someone's going to say Floyd Mayweather, but trust me, had he kept fighting, it would have happened eventually. That's a different story. But even he has suffered some losses in his life. You just can't go through life without failing. But the reason as to why failing is not always a bad thing. In fact, failing could be a good thing. And the reason why that's the case is because you need to fail in order to appreciate the victory. In order to be successful at anything and for that success to feel juicy and for it to feel powerful and for it to feel worth something, you have to fail first. Because how are you going to appreciate the success if you don't fail? It's like, we'll use a couple of practical examples. Let's say that you are an esports player. Let's say you play Smash and you always end up getting third place or fourth place. You know you're good, but someone else is better. How good is it going to feel when you get first place? How good will it feel to be the champion? All the failures, all of the shortcomings, it's all worth it if you eventually get the crown. And you may never get the crown. Or you may. You'll never know unless you keep trying. Or in your relationships, you go and you date somebody, it doesn't work out. You move on to the next one, it doesn't work out. But every time you learn something new about yourself and what you want out of a relationship. Every relationship that you're in, whether you're gay, straight, doesn't matter. You're going to learn something from that relationship, and you're going to also fine-tune what you're looking for in a partner. You know what I mean? Because you're going to date somebody, and they're going to have these things that you either don't like or you do like, but the things that you don't like, you're going to either be like, okay, you know what, I don't like that about them, but it's okay. I can oversee that. Or you're going to say, you know what, I really don't like that about them. Like, I don't want to date somebody like this. And so your next relationship, if you learn from it, you're going to be able to say, okay, you're going to be able to keep an eye on those red flags. Say, okay, well, if she does this, it could lead to this, so I got to be careful with this one. That's kind of how it works. Time and life teaches you lessons about people and about how to handle certain things. So you wouldn't understand the success unless you fail. And with those lessons comes you eventually finding the right girl or guy or whatever that does fit you and having a happy relationship, a long, happy, successful relationship. Same thing goes with your career. Lord knows I've talked about this a bunch of times. In my life, I'm going to tell y'all about me. That's what I do here. In my life, I have had so many different careers. I worked at McDonald's when I was a teenager. Talked about that before. That was my first real job. Outside of odd jobs and things like that. Then I got into IT. I got into being an engineer. Then, for a very brief time, I took a break from IT and I started becoming a health and life insurance salesman. And I hated it. I did not like selling insurance. Mostly because I believe the insurance companies are all crooked. And actually, when you take the insurance exam, you kind of learn just how crooked. When you're on the inside, you really learn how crooked these companies are and what the objective really is. The whole system of insurance is bad, in my opinion, even though I know why it exists. And then after that, I went back into IT, different types of IT, different types of engineering and security engineering, network engineering. Then I was security guard for a very brief time. I worked as a security guard in order to build myself back up after I was homeless. It was an easy job, but not one I really wanted because it didn't pay enough. Then came YouTube in 2015. And that's what I've been doing ever since. Over on my main channel, Geekdom 101. This has paid the bills. It has bought me a house. It has bought me a car. I will never, ever regret YouTube because it's the best job I've ever had in my entire life. I have met many people who I dearly love because of YouTube. I have traveled the world because of YouTube. Literally the world, folks. And that's not something that needs to be looked down upon. It needs to be celebrated. You know what I mean? So, all of that came from failures. All of that came from struggles. You're not going to appreciate happiness if you don't go through sadness. You're not going to appreciate the good moments if you don't have bad moments. And one of the things that I really like about existential living, which I'm not an existentialist, but I respect those who are, is that you appreciate every moment in the moment. You know? You appreciate the little things more, especially as you get older. I'm in my mid-30s. I appreciate things now way more than I did when I was younger. My health, for example, which I took for granted for many years. The power of the dollar and how much money, how important it is to conserve your money at the right moments. Or even those little moments when you're with your loved ones. Think about this next time if you're dating right now and you're with your girl and you're laying in bed with her. I did this in my last relationship. And you're laying in bed with her and she has her arm draped over you. She has her head on your chest. And you can feel her breathe. She can feel you breathing. You're having that moment. It's not about sex, man. It's way beyond, way more powerful than that. And you're thinking about, you're in that moment and you just sit there, just close your eyes and just think and say, I'm going to appreciate this moment right now. And I promise you won't forget it. I still think about that to this day once in a while. You know, you appreciate those little moments, you know. It's not just about what's next and what are we doing tomorrow. It's just sit there and just appreciate it. Or when you're with your parents. My parents are dead. I've talked about this. If you're hanging out with your mom and dad, they might annoy you, but appreciate that moment. Take a mental note and say, this is really cool that I get to watch this football game or this boxing fight or this movie with my mom and dad. I get to spend time with my mom and learn about her, and you have to appreciate those things, man. You know how many questions I have for my parents now that I wish I could have asked them when I was younger? I lost my mom when I was 22 and my dad when I was 29. Before I even hit my 30s. It's bullshit. And you know how many questions I have for them now as a grown-ass man? How much I would love to bring them down from heaven and have them see what I've accomplished? My mom and dad were poor. My mom and dad would have never believed that I'd be doing what I'm doing for a living and that I'd be able to have this big-ass house that I'm in right now. They would have never believed that shit. I mean, they wanted it for me, but, you know, they didn't understand the internet. They didn't understand that you could actually make money on the internet. They didn't know. They're old school, dude, you know? And it would have just been so great to have them be around. And I assure you, if they were alive, they would be living with me. Not me living with them. They'd be living with me. And it just can't happen that way. But I still think, you know, had I not gone through those trials and tribulations, had I not developed PTSD from being homeless, I would have never had the drive and motivation to stay up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning working on Dragon Ball videos on Geekdom 101. I wouldn't have. Staying up for spoilers during Super's run. Talking to people and networking and getting sources. I would have never had that drive. They say YouTube's a young man's game. It's not really a young man's game. It's a hard-working man's game. Because hard work pays off. Even if you're doing a channel and you're not blowing up right now, keep working. Keep going. Analyze yourself. There's ways around it. You can do it. Believe in yourself. But remember that, like I said, pain leads to pleasure. Success is appreciated through failure. You can't understand what happiness is without going through sadness. Utopia does not exist because we as human beings always have this sort of anxiety or fear of losing it. Let's say that you woke up tomorrow and you got $1 million. Let's say you got $10 million and you got the prettiest girl ever and you're just the happiest person ever. You're not the happiest person ever, homie, because your brain will never settle. Because now with that 10 million, you got to figure out, how am I going to invest it? How's it going to last for me? Do I take a trip? What do I do? Can I keep my girl happy? Is she with me for the money? You're going to think about those things, dude. Your insecurities will creep up on you. And you'll think about, okay, I don't want to lose this. And you end up having that anxiety of that fear of loss, that abandonment. You know what I'm saying? In other words, what I'm trying to tell you is that you can never mentally be 100% happy. What you can be is content with your life and at peace and emotionally centered. But you're never going to be 100% happy because you can't avoid bad days. So you might as well make the best of it and keep yourself happy mentally. And if you have a bad day, you have a right to be upset and angry and, that's fine. You have a right to feel that way if you feel like you've been screwed over by life. But try to keep yourself emotionally centered. But remember that no human being can ever be happy. And thus, when you hit those happy moments, you must appreciate them. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be doing the Mandalorian review this week and things like that. So don't worry, that's coming. There's not really much, like I said, in the way of interesting news. There's like a Steppenwolf picture that came out. I really don't care too much about it. It's just a picture. I really want movies to come back. I need to start reviewing some old movies or something like that on here. Do more video game memories videos. But anyways, that's it, folks. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.